Welcome back to Cottage Designs by Erin, where, as promised, today we're going to be working on the Hill Flower Farm Embroidery Quilted Project by Crabapple Hill. Here's a copy of the cover. I'm going to move the camera to my hands now. The first thing you're going to need to do is cut a piece of fabric 16 inches long by 13 inches wide. It is suggested that you use muslin or a white background fabric. I had neither, so I'm using a quilter's fabric. Next, you're going to start tracing your design. I'm going to lightly do some of this because it takes a long time to do it all right? It took me 45 minutes to trace the entire design. It took me 2 days to embroider all of it. It took another 45 minutes to color it. So we can only do so much here. So I'm going to lightly do this. I'm just using a number 2 pencil, all right? I'm not using the fancy pigment, what are they called? Pigment pens? Let's see here. Pigment pens. There was a ton of supplies on the back of this. And I'm not spending money on all that, okay? I did buy a light box that I wanted to use for this. And it has not come in yet. So no light box. I did borrow on the one that's almost finished. I borrowed a light box from the high school art teacher that I work with. But on this one, we're just going to try to do it the best we can. You could also hold this up to your window and trace it through the window if you so wish. I'm just gently doing the outlines. If you make a mistake, you can erase it on fabric. I just use the eraser on the end. If it's a big mistake, one of those big pink erasers will do the job. I call Big Pinky. I don't know what they're really called. I just call it Big Pinky. Okay, so I think I have the general shape here. We're going to now remove the background piece that we traced. Okay, so this is what we had. And this is what we have now. It's slightly traced on to the fabric. All right, so the next step is to go ahead and start coloring it. I just went to Walmart and bought a box of 72 colored pencils. They were $6 and something. $6.97. Okay, so how much money I have invested in this project is $12.95 for the pattern. You can buy it on eBay, on Amazon, or you can buy it directly from the maker, CrabAppleHillStudio.com. And on CrabAppleStudioHill.com, they're only $10, or you can buy a PDF even. So here's the address for that. CrabAppleHillStudio.com. Buy your pattern. It cost me $5.95 to have it shipped. Then I bought the pencils. So overall, I have $25.92 wrapped up in this project so far. Now, on this particular project, I've already made a blue one. So I decided that I think I would like to make a pink truck. So I'm going to get a pink out of here, and I don't know if this will be the right color. I think that's supposed to be peach. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start coloring in the truck. Now, when you color on fabric, you want all of your shading to go the same direction because the fabric will drag against it. So I tend to go to the right because I'm right-handed. It was harder to trace this on the fabric I had because I traced it on quilter's cotton. So this is pretty heavy, but that's all I had. I try to use what I have. We have a wonderful leader of our quilt guild, and she's in her 90s, and she says, never buy what you can make do with at home. And I agree with that because things are costly. I did buy a light box, like I said, but it didn't come in. The light box, I purchased a metal one, an old school metal one off of eBay for $45. You can buy brand new ones on at hobbylobby.com, which run about the same price, but some of them require batteries. I'm not buying batteries, okay? Batteries are too expensive. You can also go to dicksartsupplies.com and buy them there, and they're over $60. So I didn't want to invest that kind of money. All right, so are you seeing how this is starting to take shape? Anything that's the background of the truck, in this case, is going to be pink. So you just continue to color the fabric. Now let's say you have it all completely done and you feel like the colors are not strong enough. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go back and color the opposite direction of the way you were going. So I color to the right. If I feel like I don't have enough contrast, I'm going to now go back and I'm going to color to the left and kind of crosshatch and fill that in. You see how that works? I need to go around the headlights here. Okay, so you continue on like that until you have the entire project colored. Okay, let me take that away. So first step, cut your fabric 16 by 13, trace your design, and then color it in. Next, you're going to embroider the piece. Okay, here's what my embroidered piece looks like. There are directions on the pattern that tell you how many strands to use. I like a thicker look. So rather than use 2 strands on all of mine, I used 3 strands, except for the wording on the truck door, which says Hillflower Farm. On that, I used 2 for Hill and 1 for the Flower and Farm, like it suggests. Okay, and then, so you're going to get your embroidery needle, thread it up with your 2 or 3 strands, whatever you prefer. Tie a little tiny knot in the back of it and start embroidering it. In order to keep the background nice and neat. You can sew an extra piece of fabric on the back of this so that your threads don't show. I did not do that, all right, but you can if you want to. All right, so you're going to embroider all the piece. So it took 45 minutes to trace, 45 minutes to color, 2 days to embroider. And then now what I wanted to do silk ribbon embroidery where the flowers are at. If you notice on the picture, they have been heavily embroidered. All right. Rather than do that, I wanted to use silk ribbon embroidery. So I bought silk ribbon, and guess what? It's not in yet. I do have a piece here, though, that I can show you how to do it with. All right. After you embroider it, you're going to cut your borders 1.5 inches wide and sew them on. So that's what I have on the sides of this, 1.5 inch borders. Okay, now let me get my silk ribbon piece. Of course, I can't find red, which is what I wanted, but I can show you how to do this with any color. You're going to need your Friskers embroidery scissors, some kind of a hoop, and embroidery needles. On your embroidery needles, you're going to need one with a larger eye to do the silk ribbon embroidery. See the difference in size? Here's this one with a larger eye. And then this is a linen needle. Look how much shorter. It's very short and fine. So you need one with a larger eye, not a linen needle. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hoop the fabric. Gosh, these are always might be too thick. It's going to be too thick for this old metal one. I'm going to use the plastic one. Okay, so you put the plastic on the bottom. And then you put the other one on top until it snaps down. Okay. So if you notice here, I have stems leading up to nothing because I have not embroidered the flowers. All right, when you embroider with silk ribbon, you're going to need some embroidery floss also, matching embroidery floss. Cannot find what I'm looking for. All right, it took a little bit, but I have the entire piece of ribbon on here. Now, I'm going to take a piece of embroidery floss. And I'm going to use the 3 strands. It has to somewhat match the ribbon that you're using. Keep in mind that when my actual silk ribbon comes in beautiful colors for flowers like pink and red, that's what I'll use. It has not arrived, so I'm just using the only piece I had, which is blue. Inside the circles that we have not embroidered, we are going to make a little tiny spider web. Let me flip it on the back. If you notice on the back of my embroidery, I don't have any big long strings or tags hanging out because we don't want that to show through. All right, so I have my embroidery. I'm going to make a spider web like action. It looks like spokes in a wheel. Okay, there's 1. Here's 2. Usually have 4. Here's 3. And here's 4. And then I'm just going to let that go because I'm going to eventually pull it out because I'm not going to use blue. You're now going to take your silk ribbon embroidery and you're going to come up from the back. And you do have to tie a little knot in. This ribbon in particular is rather thick. Usually you use 1/4 inch wide ribbon. I'm going to tie a little tiny knot in it just so it doesn't come out. All right. Now, you take your ribbon and you go in and over. I went over the spoke, under the spoke. And then you're going to go turn it. Now we went under, so we're going to go over and then we're going to go under. Oh my gosh, and now my spoke came out. I don't know what just happened there. So basically you'll go over, under, over, under, over, under the embroidered spokes. And as you do that, I'm doing it with my fingers to show you because I think we've got multiple problems here. The ribbon is too big and the spokes were too little. But if you know, you know. If you don't know, then just go back and hand embroider them on. So when you're done with that, when you go over, under, over, under, over, under the spider web of spokes, you will have a tight little ribbon that'll look like this. It'll look like a little bunched up rose. All right, the over, under will give you the bunched up rose. So let's take that off because clearly that did not work because the ribbon is too wide and embroidery floss is too small. I can show you how to do it when the actual materials come in. I'm sorely disappointed that I didn't have everything in time. I'm going to cut that out because I don't want blue anyway. Okay, I do see a place on the truck that's not embroidered, so I can show you how I did the embroidery. When you embroider this, no matter what color you use, if you want to make the truck purple, make it purple. Use a dark purple, use a lavender. If you make it blue, you use a dark blue and a light blue. And the reason you're doing that is because you're trying to show the gradation on the truck. So wherever it's dark, you use dark. Wherever it's light, you use light. All right? So now, piece of this light blue. I just used a regular DMC. Well, that's all a big mess right here. Why that was saved. I'm not saving that. Maybe I can just use this dark one that I already started. Let's just use the strand I had. Okay, you are going to come up from the bottom, tie a tiny knot so it doesn't pull through, and then you'll go back and you'll cut all the tails off your knots. If you see here I have a line, I'm going to go across that line using a back stitch. This is very relaxing. I enjoyed embroidering this. And then when I get my silk ribbon in and I embroider the flowers, it will cover, whoop, that one's crooked. It will get the, anything that wasn't covered will be buried behind the flowers is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we're finished with that. So we're going to pull it through under another thread on the back and then clip it really short. After you have traced it, colored it, embroidered it, you're now going to heat set it. And this will keep your colored pencils from running or fading. Now, this particular pattern suggested buying a chemical that you paint on to keep the embroidery vibrant color, yada, yada, yada. I'm not doing that. Okay, I don't believe in using chemicals. I have done colored tinting before with crayons and colored pencils, and I've never had any problem with it. So let me get my iron and I will show you how to heat set it. I'm just going to use a towel because I don't have a wool mat. Put down a nice fluffy towel. Put your design on top. Let me grab my iron. You're going to now get your iron. And listen, I don't have a fancy iron. This is an iron from the 90s that my mom gave me. It works just fine. You're going to press your background. And then when you get to the embroidery, we don't want to go back and forth because we don't want to stretch the design. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're like, Erin, what the heck are you doing? Why are you counting to 5? You want to give it time to set, but you don't want to burn the fabric, scorch the fabric, or distort the design. So by counting to 5, I give it time to heat set. You also do not want your steam mechanism on, because if you push the steam mechanism on this, you're going to have water and then you're going to have staining, okay? So up and down, and all around. Up and down. Up and down, up and down, up and down. All right, now on the background, I love starch, as I've mentioned in my other videos, because starch works wonders when you're quilting. So I did starch the background. Let me show you the starch. This is the plain old kind of starch like you get at Walmart, okay? Faultless starch. It's cheap and it's in the laundry aisle. It's usually on the bottom shelf. This is wonderful when you are quilting because it gives you a nice crisp design. So when you starch it though, you're going to go around. Come on. Okay. You're going to go around the truck design. You're going to use the starch on the background only. And then go ahead and press. And this gives you that flawless, crisp. I even love the way it smells. Ah, it reminds me of my dad's shirts when I was a kid. All right, on the back, we have sewn our 1.5" border strips on. You are going to press those out. Okay, press it out. Or I should say to the dark side. You're going to turn the seam to the darker side of the fabric and press it. All right, now let me pull this up. Okay, so here is our semi-finished product. You are now going to make the quilted blocks that go around it. And there's several options. Okay, first off, you don't have to. You can just use the pieced edging and go ahead and quilt it and be done. Or you can do what the picture suggests and make the 9-patch block or the next one to it, or you can just, make solid blocks in between, whatever you want to do. In order to make these blocks, I'm not going to do it because my video is already getting fairly long. You're going to take, I believe it said 1.5" blocks. Let me look. There's a lot of directions to this. Let's see what it says. So they're 1.5" inner border strips. We did that. So we are here in the directions. Arrange your 9-patch and shoe fly blocks pleasingly around the bordered stitchery. And then you're going to sew that. So you sew the sides and sew the top on. But let me see for the blocks, what size they had to be. The quilt blocks are 3.5 inches unfinished. So that gives you another option. You could go all the way around the outside of this with 3.5 inch solid or print and not have to piece the blocks, which would save you a lot of time. The blocks are 1.5 inches. I'm not going to do that part today, okay? Because the video is already fairly long. Here's what you learned on how to make this pattern. Cut your background fabric. Trace the truck. Color the truck. Embroider the truck. Sew on your border strips. Heat set the color tinting. It is now ready to be quilted as it is, or you can go ahead and sew on your piece blocks and then quilt it. So even though we had some glitches, such as my light box not showing up and my embroidery ribbon not showing up, we do have a beautiful, almost finished product here. This is what we have. So thank you so much for coming back by and seeing my projects. I greatly appreciate your support. I am finally going to be monetized on YouTube. I'm super excited about that. And I will have more projects for you in the future. If there's something that you would like to see, or if you have a comment you'd like to make, please do that below, and I will try to accommodate whatever it is that you want to see in future videos. Thank you.